What's going on, Sports Wars? It's Jeremy, and I am bringing you a special video tonight with my co-host, Az from Hot Toys and Heel versus Babyface. What's going on, Az?
Good to see you go. My goodness, debut on Sports Wars.
Hell yeah.
What a debut it's going to be when we talk about it.
Hell yeah. And from Tommytron TV, we have Tommy, who you've seen on Sports Wars a few times in the past. What's going on, Tommy?
What is up? I'm ready to get into it, man. Exciting stuff tonight.
Yes. So we are here to talk about the unbelievable return of CM Punk to the professional wrestling world in AEW. This was awesome. Az just got off Friday Night Tights. I left Friday Night Tights to go record the video. Everybody's like, oh, Gary's going to get mad. And it was like, and now Az watched it after Friday Night Tights was over. I went back on Friday Night Tights. Tommy watched it. To kind of form this, I'm an old school, longtime wrestling fan. Tommy is the same as me. We grew up watching wrestling together, and then we, kind of moved out of it. Like for me, I think Tommy fell out of it before CM Punk quit. That's about the time I fell out of it. I was at WrestleMania 30, which was right after Punk quit. Daniel Bryan, Yes Movement, all of that. So I've been kind of really disconnected from the wrestling world for the past 7 years, as has Tommy. As obviously you have a channel called Heel versus Babyface. Yeah. You're clearly a big-time wrestling fan. You're more in tune with what's been going on with the current product in recent years. So tonight, the return of CM Punk, the hype has been there. It's been discussed for years. There's been the CM Punk chants for years in the WWE. We all know the past with the WWE and the problems Punk has had being fired on his wedding day. And just the fact that they just don't like him. Triple H doesn't like him. Stephanie doesn't like him. Vince, they don't like him. They never wanted him. There's a lot of bad blood there. Everything has been leading up to this moment. So what was your take on what you witnessed? I'll let you go first, Az, because you're fresh off of it. What are your thoughts on what we just witnessed?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to use a cliche to start with, but it's so true. My goosebumps had goosebumps. Yeah. My spine was just tingling.
Yes.
From tip to toe, and it just wasn't stopping, and it was kind of encroaching across the shoulders. I used to be a massive Punk fan. Back when it was in WWE, I was always so frustrated that they didn't utilize him correctly. The pipe bomb moment, obviously, I know, it's become a little bit of a meme, a little bit of cliche now as well. But that pipe bomb moment was so significant to just the regular man. And they booked him. They had a chance to send him to the moon, and they booked him into a grave. And it was so frustrating. And when Punk left, there was like massive sadness, but you couldn't blame him. It wasn't exactly as if it was a shock per se. It was like, oh no, I kind of, maybe understand why this has gone on. And I always thought he'd be back in a couple of years.
Same.
I thought he'd be back in a couple of years. That given time to cool off. There's two sides to every story. So while I'm sure there's plenty of bad blood between them, sure there's a little bit both ways.
And Vince always brings people back. He always mends that fence. Yeah.
Punk does have a reputation himself to rub people up the wrong way as well.
Yeah.
And as time went on, and he didn't, and then the USC thing happened. And my interest in wrestling was now waning desperately because WWE were just putting on the same match over and over, and I was getting bored to tears. So much so that I eventually got introduced to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and that's where I found my home. And of course, that was the time where Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, Paige, they were all there. They were all in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I was seeing these guys, and they were such a breath of fresh air because every match felt unique, every match felt different, and Punk didn't look like he was ever coming back, so he sort of left the sphere. The two matches he had in UFC, I wanted so much for him, and nothing,
they were
it was just an absolute damn squib. And then of course AEW starts up, where it was kind of almost a bet with Dave Meltzer and Cody Rhodes, and suddenly a new wrestling federation is born with the help of Tony Khan. And I thought, oh no, have they now fractured and made wrestling worse? Because so many of the New Japan talent, the Western side of it, was coming into AEW, and then they were stacking it with this young independent talent. And I just thought, as time was going on, the rumors of Punk, they apparently spoke to Punk early doors. He said no, he didn't want to speak to them. And I thought that was it. And we're never going to see Punk in wrestling again. And these last couple of years, AEW have really, really taken off. I can't believe how much so. And I think it desperately showed how much people wanted an alternative. They wanted to see exciting wrestling again instead of the sanitized product that WWE were putting out. And then, obviously just a few weeks ago, we started hearing the rumors. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson. It was getting very exciting. Even what's Britt Baker's boyfriend. Let's switch it back on WWE. His contract's expired as well, but he's agreed to work through SummerSlam. Adam Cole, baby. So he's agreed to work through SummerSlam. So it's just like, oh my goodness, there's a chance that AEW might even be able to snag Adam Cole as well.
And Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt, yeah, but I mean, I think Adam Cole is exceptional talent. Bryan Danielson is exceptional talent.
Right.
CM Punk is exceptional talent to put bums on seats. And then when they mentioned Chicago, well, then I was like, oh no, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen, and my God, did it happen?
It's been 7 years. I mean, that just the energy, the chills, like you said, from the top of my head all the way down through. Like I knew it was coming. I mean, we knew it was coming, but when his music hit, dude, and that crowd erupted, oh my God! Like,
yes,
you could.
And he played it perfectly. When he fell to his knees, like he's done in the past. Yeah. And then when he jumped into the crowd, like we're in a time where fans need to be embraced and fans need to be respected. And he went up, hugged the fans, and then he did the dive bomb, the stage dive into the fans, and you heard them erupt. And it's like, that's what we want. We want fans to be embraced. And this is a legendary moment for me. So I got to ask, like, where does this rank on pops? Like, is this one of the biggest pops you've ever heard? We've heard some legendary pops, Y2J from back in the day. I don't hear it get mentioned a lot, but when Brock Lesnar came out several years ago, when John Cena was in the ring, when Brock made that return, that was a massive pop. Obviously, Stone Cold, every time he came out to the ring, was a massive pop, but he's got someone that were big time, Rock, Hogan at WrestleMania. So those are some that's out there. But
I have a few quick thoughts on that before I kick the ass, because I'm really interested to hear your thoughts, as deeply ingrained into this as you are. But I think there's a difference between a surprise pop and what we saw today, right?
Sure.
So a surprise pop like Edge coming back, at the Royal Rumble, right? He came back, and I mean, he was basically ruled out from wrestling. So that was a huge pop, huge emotional moment. But what we saw tonight was like raw emotion just being poured out. And like you said, just the reaction from the fans being brought into that moment, right? And participating in that moment, it just continued to just build and build. So it was even more than a pop. It was a reaction. It took 8 minutes or something for between the promo and everything, and it never waned. It just went here and stayed. It was incredible. So for me, it's up there, man. I don't know what else would top it. There's a lot up there, right? But this is just such a different type of pop. But
I mean, one that rings in my mind, and I know this is it's strange to mention it as some of the legendary ones, but like Dolph Ziggler, Money in the Bank, remember that one when Alberto Del Rio was. That was a post WrestleMania Raw crowd. So I mean, that's already your big time crowd, but that was a massive pop, and it was a surprise pop. But I think Tommy's got a good point about surprise pop versus something like this that we knew was probably coming. I gotta say, like there's a lot of this one's complicated because it's more than a pop. It's the pop. It's how Punk handled going to the ring. It's in Chicago. But my God, dude, his promo was so fucking good. My God.
I mean, a surprise pop, AJ Styles, Royal Rumble. That was a big one because I just, people never thought AJ would ever turn up in WWE. This to me was a release. This was a release to me. This was 7 years in the making. People expected Punk to come out. They expected Punk to come out. But when you hit that cult of personality, that is Punk. He is the cult of personality. And so when that hit, there was a just an emotional release by people. It was almost like a cathartic release. It was without trying to build it up too much. There was kind of almost like a messiahistic element to it, that the god of Chicago had returned to the wrestling ring.
Yeah.
And him coming out just, casual as you like, kneels down. I don't think he did the watch. I don't think he looked what time is it? It's club.
Yeah, he didn't do that. Yeah, he didn't do that.
He didn't do that, but just the way he kind of calmly sucked it all up, fed off that crowd, gauged the energy from them. It was almost like there was an element of forgiveness in the air, of A, being away from wrestling, B, because he even mentioned it himself, making some decisions that maybe you guys didn't agree with. There seemed to be this outpouring of like raw emotion, raw release, raw forgiveness. And I tell you what, he'll never work in WWE again. Oh, so I'm not talking about Punk. I'm talking about that Brock Lesnar guy who was also in the crowd.
Was Brock out there?
The Brock Lesnar guy. The guy.
Oh, the Brock Lesnar guy. Oh, yeah, the guy. The Brock Lesnar guy. Yeah. Okay.
He was
like,
there.
What? Yes, he was. Yes. The Brock Lesnar guy. Because every time Brock Lesnar, he's like, he's always in the front row. He's always, yeah. Okay.
And WWE, they ferried that guy around, and they've used him in promos, and they've used, they've used him to promote the something, whatever center, the whatever where they train people. So they've used him for plenty. So to see him in the audience of AEW,
that was actually pretty crazy.
Yeah, it looked like a bit of an FU. But that jumping into the crowd, that was so good, particularly with everything with Koof and all that. It was just great to see people connecting.
It was.
And you go to one side, you just you shake some hands, and then the other side, I'm going to come in. I'm going to jump in there. And that was so good.
And it was masterful with the whole when he led into talking about leaving, and then it was like Ring of Honor, and then he ended saying, "I left wrestling 2005," and and for anybody who, and I know most of our audience that's going to watch this understands what Punk was saying, but so essentially the problem with WWE is that it's not professional wrestling anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. It's sports entertainment, and that's what a lot of the problem is where Punk, people like Stone Cold Steve Austin, those guys are professional wrestlers, and they like to be referred to as professional wrestlers. And so when he said that, and he completely just skipped over the WWE and just said, and I returned on August, 1st, I think 20th, it was beautiful. It was masterful. And I love how he sat down, crossed his legs, a la pipe bomb. And how he closed it out. And I want to show you guys this, as I'm sure you haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to show you this real quick. How he closed it out was absolutely phenomenal. And I'm trying to find it right now. I think this is it right here. Is that it? Yeah, right here. Okay, so check this out. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Number one thing being, I want you to bring back the WWE ice cream bars. One more thing. 7 years is an awful long time to wait for somebody. I appreciate everybody here who has waited. So on your way out of the United Center tonight, grab yourself a free ice cream bar on me.
Beautiful.
That's legend, dude. I mean, that's a guy who understands the audience, understands how to give a promo to pull people in. And I was talking to Az about this briefly right before we went live, but because Az is more knowledgeable on current AEW product than I am, and Tommy is. And so we're talking about the promo and how he's well, as you were talking about how he cares about the young talent, you know, and versus how Vince is more concerned with the old talent. So to talk to us about that really quick, about the points you were trying to make.
Yeah, what I really liked is, you know, Punk's, he's not young anymore. He's what, 42, 44, you know, between that age. But he's got so much experience to bring to the table. And so when he came and he said, there's a lot of young talent here in AEW, this was like, I was like, oh, you are talking to me now, you know, and I've got some unsettled scores, but there is young talent here and I want to fight them. And that was great because Darby Allin has been one of the great success stories of AEW so far. He's small, you know, he doesn't have big mass at all. But one thing he does have in absolute spades is charisma, personality, talent. And he'll throw himself. He'll do the craziest shit, which we used to see.
I just watched him on Dynamite. He took a bump over the trucks of a skateboard, like back across the trucks of a skateboard. I was like, what? What am I watching?
He's different. You know, the guy comes down to the ring on a skateboard. You know, he's got half of his face painted. He's something which you don't tend to see anymore. He's really appealing to a younger audience, which is great. Vince is stuck in the past. He'll call upon Brock Lesnar. He'll call upon Goldberg. He'll call The Rock. But that's never going to sustain anything. It's going to be a short-term pop for no long-term gain. The AEW, you clearly see how they're looking to the future. You clearly see how they're building people like Jungle Boy up, who's, he's going to be great when he's just a couple of years older, puts on a little bit of mass. He's going to be fantastic. Orange Cassidy, you take it, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, you take a gimmick wrestler and you turn him into a legit wrestler like they've done in AEW without compromising his gimmicks, without compromising his personality. And then you take somebody like Darby Allin, who is just, who's just there to fight. And you put Punk against those, and then once Punk's fought some of the young kids, hey, say, look, we're going to do best in the world versus best in the world again. We're going to do Jericho versus Punk. We're going to give them that match again. We're going to do Omega versus Punk. We're going to do Bryan Danielson versus Punk. There's so many opportunities for him to mingle between the old guard, people he's never wrestled before, people he hasn't wrestled for so long, and this young talent who he can really enhance with his knowledge, and he will sell them to the moon and back.
Well, your point, and what I was saying earlier was, I was like, this is the brilliance of Punk, and Tommy and me are the perfect kind of target demographic. We're longtime wrestling fans. We spend a lot of our time watching old school wrestling shoot interviews, listening to Jim Cornette, listening to JR, listening to all these takes and all this old school NWO stuff. But we are completely disconnected from the current product. Tommy just went and looked up Darby Allin because CM Punk name dropped him. CM Punk highlighted him. And so did I. I know the guy's name now. And so I'm looking at it, and the way they did it was perfect because, again, I'm assuming he's with Sting all the time. That's kind of his guy.
Yeah, that's his mentor.
When I see Sting in the rafters, like, my old school wrestling is like, oh my God. And I'm like, who's this guy with him? That guy has immediate credibility with me because I see Sting in the rafters with the Crow gimmick, and I hear CM Punk call his name out. Now I'm interested. Now I have developed somewhat of a relationship with this person, this Darby Allin guy, so I understand it. Now I, as a wrestling fan, am going, September 5th, CM Punk versus Allin. This is amazing. Now I'm going to go back and watch old school clips of this guy to see what he's about. Punk talked him up really good, and that's the brilliance of the promo, and you're building up a young guy. So, like, if that would have been Vince, then I don't know, fucking Triple H would have probably came out there to challenge, Punk or some shit. You know what I mean? Triple H would have come, and buried him like he always buries people. So, to me, this is.
You're nothing, nobody. You're a scrawny little 110
you're
pound
skinny,
weakling. It's just
skinny fat ass.
Yeah.
You're skinny fat ass, Punk. And another thing too, look, I don't know if either one of you've seen this yet, but again, going into the brilliance of tonight, right there. Look at that.
Oh yeah, I saw
Look at that. That's so awesome.
I just want one of those rappers so bad.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's a cool rapper. That is a very cool rapper. And so to me, this is a huge win. I mean, so Tommy, I know you're kind of pulled in, at least for now. You know, I'm pulled in for now. Do you feel like, first of all, has AEW been a legitimate competitor to WWE for the last year, or have they been nipping at them? Like, where have they been prior to this Punk moment?
Their actual product is so much better than WWE's, and WWE's got great wrestlers. The problem is it's every match is outlined the same. It has the same beats. It doesn't feel like you're seeing anything particularly different. There's no stars to me. It's like a bunch of mid carders.
Who's the top guy right now? Is it Roman Reigns?
It's back to Roman Reigns again as a heel.
Yeah.
But
so he's a heel. He'd be better as a heel.
At the same time, you've got Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley, again, no disrespect, but old talent. And Goldberg's just come back to do a couple of matches. There's nobody that I want to get behind in WWE. There's nobody who I want to support.
Yeah.
Whereas I watch AEW, and I got so much time for Darby Allin because he's a great kid. His matches are really exciting. In the pay-per-view just a few weeks ago, the first pay-per-view back when the crowd was back, which just felt like I was on a different planet again. It was so good. And just seeing him and Sting fight as a tag team, Sting was bringing it, absolutely bringing it.
Yeah.
And so it was so good to see that even somebody like Sting, who you thought his career was over when he took that neck bump from Seth, suddenly he's just invigorated by the youth in AEW. Jungle Boy, again, the crowd, they'll sing his song when he comes out. And it's not a Pavlovian response like a pop is. A pop's a Pavlovian response. Music hits. Yeah. No, these people are really supporting these guys. And then Orange Cassidy, you put them with the right people, and he's got his gimmick, but his gimmick works so well, and it's so interesting and different than anything out there. And I just see different. Then the Young Bucks come on. Then Kenny Omega comes on, and it's just like every match feels unique. Every match feels different, and I'm excited, and it feels like I'm watching a whole new world. So I'm not surprised that AEW's done as well as it's done. I'm expecting even better thing. I'm expecting them to take it too, and I'm probably take the viewership from them. I think that they're actually going to do bigger numbers than the WWE very, very shortly.
That's encouraging to hear, because Jeremy and I were talking about this offline. It really feels like AEW has that energy that WCW had back in the early days of the Monday Night Wars. That really raw, more amateurish, more crowd support type of energy, and
grassroots feel. Grassroots.
Yeah, grassroots is good. It feels like it's going somewhere, man. So it's exciting to hear that coming from you, since you've been so plugged in, because it's definitely exciting to see.
Well, I mean, the other thing which is really interesting about AEW right now, they've got a contract. They're working with New Japan Pro Wrestling. They're working with Impact Wrestling. They're working with NWA. They are not frightened to work with their oppositions, because they know that it'll build them stronger, and they know that it will allow them to bring in good talent from other companies to wrestle on those shows, and give those exposure and raise everyone up. And if everyone's lifted, then that's good strength. And with the level of talent that's in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you suddenly get Okada come across, Tanahashi come across. You get somebody like those two come. Whoa, Kota Ibushi. You're going to start to see some absolute craziness when it comes to the ring and the talent there. And it's going to introduce an American audience to a potential product with New Japan, the type of wrestling, the hardcore wrestling that they do there that they've never seen before, and that's just going to make them want more.
I mean, this is all very exciting to me because we've needed competition is good. Competition is always good. And, you know, the moment that WWF, WWE, whatever, you know, bought out WCW at that time, first of all, when it happened, it was like, I remember being kind of excited, but kind of confused. And I was like, what kind of angle are they going to work? Because this is going to be kind of crazy to see like the NWO over there or Goldberg or whatever. And they just botched the whole thing when Vince bought it out. The whole thing, it was all about Vince's ego. He really just wanted to bury anything that WCW was and any of the stuff that affected his business. It was a bad move. But so since then, the business has struggled because we all know how healthy the business was, you know, with the Monday Night Wars and how incredible it was to tune in every night and wonder what's going to happen. And I do feel like we're at a point now, this moment with Punk, who I think has just elevated AEW to another level, but they were already at a great level because if I'm not mistaken, Jericho's over there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you've got Jericho. When's Brian Danielson? We need to get used to calling him Brian Danielson. But when is he officially signed? Is this kind of a Punk situation where we're still waiting for the appearance? What's going on?
We're waiting. It looks like the wait will come to an end at the pay-per-view, though.
Okay. So we're pretty much convinced that we're going to get Brian Danielson. And again, those are Punk and Brian Danielson are the two people that I think that, you know, back in the 2012-ish, 2013, all that, like the cornerstones of the company should have been Punk and Brian. And you could have built off of some of the great matches. Those guys, their in-ring ability is second to none versus the guys that they were competing with at the time. And you could have done so much with those guys, passionate indie guys that have a love for the business, who aren't scared to put over younger talent when the time is right. Like that was, and again, I understand those aren't the big burly guys that Vince and Triple H love, but those were the guys that would have been best for the business. But now here we are where we have a legitimate competitor. I feel like now WWE is going to have to respond much like they had to respond back in the day to the Nitro stuff. And Tony Khan, you know, who owns AEW, he's not hurting for money. And he's clearly got the balls, and he's putting what it feels like he's putting the company behind Punk. It feels like he's putting it. Now, again, that may be a little presumptive to say at this point, but I saw a quote Bleacher Report tweeted out that said, Tony Khan said that CM Punk is not temporary and he's not short-term, meaning he's there. And Punk made it clear. Yeah, he made it clear tonight in his promo that he is there. And Punk has had an axe to grind with WWE, and you know he wants to bury them. You know he wants to make them hurt and suffer. And he has been very patient and strategic.
I got to say, I think the way that he passively, aggressively ignored WWE today, I think that really shows that he's just like, you mean nothing.
Yeah.
You mean nothing to us. I don't think we're going to see him hung up on WWE at all. I think when he says, you know, that I've got some old scores to settle, I think that's going to be great matches with Chris Jericho, with Christian. You know, he's got those two guys to play with as an old vanguard. But he's just got such an exciting. You put it this way: you put Punk against some of the younger talent, and you know he goes over. I think Punk has to go over because the experience has to win, because the youngsters have to learn.
Right.
You know, you can't just have the youngsters beat him immediately. That's got to be earned. And that's the beauty of AEW. They really think about the stories and when it's time for somebody to take a title. And so instead of getting a short-term, oh, look, Darby Allin immediately beat Punk. I expect Punk to beat Darby Allin at the pay-per-view. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and I think he's going to sell him to the moon and back, but they're going to have a plan. And Punk will go around and he'll do some of that, and they'll build him up to somebody like Omega. They'll build him up to a huge one. If Bryan Danielson comes in, you could even find yourself in a situation where he does a little bit of a singles run, and then Bryan and him team up. Suddenly you have a powerhouse that can go up against the Young Bucks and be built up to go up against the Young Bucks. these are very exciting things which AEW are not scared of doing, because tag team wrestling in AEW is legit. It's a joke in WWE.
And it has been for a long
And it's been for a long
time.
time, but this is it's legit. So they can do things like this and it will still build massive credibility up. So if Punk's saying, look, I got Wednesdays free, I got Fridays free,
Yeah, I loved
and
it.
I've got 4 weekends free a year.
Yeah,
That's good. And have him build around. You know, you can say, oh well, Punk's going to be the figure that they build around. Well, they've been building around Jericho, and they've been building around Omega, and they've been building around the Bucks. It's the beauty of the AEW is the fact that they don't put all their hens in one basket. They know the strengths and what to play towards, and they can. It's like chess with them. They can do so many things.
yeah.
You know, he can move so many different places, get into so many different positions.
Is JR involved in the creative any, or is he just on commentary? Like, do you know if he's got any influence on creative right now?
I mean, I'm sure people bend his ear, but I don't think he's officially in a creative capacity.
Okay.
He's there really for his commenting sound. But
and he is fantastic. Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah,
So
they draw upon that. But you've got
to hear him on there.
It's driven really between Cody Rhodes, you know, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega. They are actual EPs of of AEW, legit EPs of AEW. And so, you know, that this is a young working wrestling talent who were discussing with Tony, you know, what to do, where to go, how to position. The other day, they needed to take the Impact title off Kenny Omega, because he's the holder of the belts at the moment. He's like the belt collector. And so they put Christian against him, unbeaten. Christian actually won, snatched a victory. The next night, he was actually booked to lose in Mexico to Andrade CS Almas. But they said, hey, we need to switch the booking on this because he's just lost. We needed to get the belt off to put it onto Christian. And we don't want to defeat Kenny in 2 days, 2 defeats in 2 days. And they're just like, fine. You know, so they can negotiate how to use their talent to make them not look weak. Oh, look, Kenny's lost twice in 2 matches. No. Keep Kenny strong. He's lost his first match in a long time, lost 1 belt, but he's still exceedingly strong. This is a company that knows how to position their talent. You know, WWE, it's 50-50. I cannot abide 50-50 booking. And that's why it's great, because AEW use the scorecards. You can see what people's ratios are. They actually have a league table of who's got what. So, you know, you'll see Cody Rhodes, 10 wins, no draws, 1 defeat. You know, they have like their season score. So
that's cool.
When wins count, the audience can really, again, invest in that. And so what you're going to do, you're going to build Punk up. You're going to put him on a nice winning streak like you're doing with Christian at the moment. But he's got, you know, bigger sell value. He's got bigger pop. He's got bigger strength behind him to sell merch, to put bums on seats, to get people excited. I spoke to Jeremy just before the stream. I tried to get onto Pro Wrestling Tees to get myself a Punk t-shirt, a new Punk t-shirt. No chance. No chance. The traffic
size down.
Yeah, it's just driven it. So he's made himself a lot of money in 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, and I mean it is beautiful, and I want to go ahead and do this, and I want us to watch this again, because it's just amazing. This was on SportsCenter's Twitter account, and it's got 2.5 million views already over on Twitter. And I just want us to watch this one more time. Obviously, we've all seen it, but this is an incredible moment. And I'll just say, for me, like, if I have anything that stood out to me that and maybe I'm overthinking this, I don't know. The music to me didn't hit as hard as it does in WWE. You know, like, the music's not as loud and it's not as deafening around the arena. I don't know if that's just me or not. Like, I mean, honestly, when I heard the CM Punk announcement, I went back and do you remember that one remember when they returned to Chicago after Punk quit and then Paul Heyman came out there? That like, I've watched that a lot.
Cena was in the ring.
Yeah. So like, it was so loud, like the music hit so loud. So I don't know if that's just me or whatever, but let's check this out. This is such a beautiful moment.
But you get that raw pop though.
Hell yeah.
You know, I would rather hear the crowd.
Yeah,
scream
absolutely.
legitimately. You know,
Oh
but
my
you know,
God.
oh my God, I got chills again, man.
Yeah.
Punk. Chicago made.
Damn right.
But it was so strategically well done with revealing the shirt, you know, revealing the t-shirt that's on sale as well.
Oh,
Bit hot in
dude.
here. Just gonna
Like
take
when
this
he
one.
did the way he
Yeah.
did that, I'm like, dude, you are killing everything about this promo. Cause that was my thing. I'm sitting there and I'm asking myself, I'm like, okay, what's he gonna be wearing? You know, is he gonna come out with the stars, you know, with the boot covers? Is he gonna come out there in the trunks? And I'm like, and he's got just a regular hoodie on, and he used to wear those. You know, he used to wear just a plain black zip up hoodie with a white zipper. And so I'm like, all right. I mean, maybe he's just there to cut like a solo promo and be done or something. But then he pulled it off. He's like, it's hot. And I'm like, this dude is pulling merch. What a brilliant move. Holy crap, man. He just killed it. It's to me, it's up there with some of the greatest promos I've ever seen. You know, I mean, Austin 316 promo is obviously up there. Obviously, Punk's pipe bomb. You know, there's just been so many legendary ones with The Rock and Stone Cold over the years. Ric Flair. I mean, Ric Flair has so many back in the day. You know, but this is a special moment, and it kind of transcends a promo. You know, and Tommy, you were talking about this earlier with me about trying to like how this like, moment can't be recreated.
Can you recreate it? Are you gonna? It's like a once in a generation thing. You have a guy. I mean, where else are you gonna kind of point to a moment in time where you're gonna have a guy that went out that hot, right, and sort of stayed gone, and the crowd immediately started calling for him, and it went on for 7 years. I mean, you know, we were watching at that time, you and I, and it was every night, especially every time they came to Chicago. And I know right after he left, they came back to Chicago like twice in a 6-month span. It was just like worst strategic planning ever. But you know, when are you going to run into that again, where you have that kind of thing where a guy's been gone 7 years and you have that sort of emotional release? I don't know that it can be replicated, right?
Yeah.
So it's just such a special thing.
Yeah. And a lot of credit, I think, goes to Punk for the fact that this guy had every opportunity in the world to come back to the world of professional wrestling, and he never did. Even with TNA, I'm sure he had opportunities. TNA, am I mistaken? I mean, I'm sure he had opportunities to come to TNA, didn't he? I mean, I'm sure there was interest there.
Sure, there's plenty of interest for him to go places, but it was what was right for him,
right? He wanted
to go into MMA.
Yeah.
But what about the back? What about the behind the scenes stuff he was doing with WWE? Because I think we were excited about that. You and
that was with Fox. That wasn't actually with WWE.
Fox,
that was a Fox show. So yeah, it was about WWE's, you know, show, but he was technically employed by Fox.
So to relate this to more of a normal sports person's terms, so it's like it would almost like being Terry Bradshaw works for Fox during NFL Sunday. So he's there to commentate on the NFL, but he's working for Fox. So that's essentially what Punk was doing. He's commentating on the WWE, but he's working for Fox while doing it, correct?
Yeah. There's WWE talent who are on there. You know, there are WWE presenters who then I think go and do the shows, but they wanted to bring Punk in. He said he was going to move the needle with that. He didn't. And people said, oh, well, this is going to be an interesting Punk. People aren't interested in Punk. Now you're kind of looking at it and you're thinking, this is actually a WWE problem and not a Punk problem at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter who you put. It doesn't really matter who you put in that position. People are just really tired of WWE. You see what we saw tonight. I tell you what, you ain't going to see nothing yet until you see the pop that's going to happen when he comes out of that pay-per-view. Because that's going to be the one. Crazy. That's going to be because he's coming out to fight. Then he's not coming out to talk. He's coming out to fight, and that's going to be one hell of a Chicago welcome.
Man.
And I tell you what, you know, you got me. You know, I resubscribed to Fight TV tonight. I've kind of waned a bit since the last pay-per-view. I'm gonna purchase this pay-per-view, and I'm gonna what he's already talked me into the building, and I've only seen him once.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
absolutely.
he's done his job. That's what his job is there for.
That's right. And I mean, we're making a video on, Sports Wars channel that we've never really talked about wrestling before. I was talking to Tommy before. I was like, we got to cover this pay-per-view. We got to be right after the pay-per-view. And we're one of many channels that are going to be doing this. And you've just ignited so much interest. And based on what Az is telling us, it sounds like AEW is going to be able to sustain this because of their decision making and their ability to tell good stories, which has severely been lacking in the WWE for a long time, because storytelling has taken such a back seat to just trying to force the crowd to like what we want you to like. And we don't give a fuck if you like it. You're going to cheer for Roman Reigns, and we don't care how much you boo him. And we're like, no, like, wrestling fans are a different group of people. They're just a different crowd, and they have to be treated differently. And Vince McMahon is a legend. Vince McMahon, there's no doubt the man he is an entity that will never be duplicated in the world of professional wrestling, but he has not adapted with the times. He has not changed with the times. And he has trained Triple H to basically think like he does and do as he does. And Triple H has that same type of stubborn mentality of, we have to have the big, burly, hulky guy. And in the 80s, that worked.
I disagree with that. I mean, with Triple H going into NXT with Shawn Michaels, they're working with a lot of the independent guys that came in, your Adam Coles and all that, and the people that they've moved, your Ballas and your Shinsuke Nakamura's and such. These aren't big people. These aren't big wrestlers, and he created a wonderful atmosphere in NXT. He created this. Pay-per-views were more exciting in NXT than they were in WWE.
I do remember that they were great.
These wonderful entrances to come out.
I guess my beef with Triple H is, I guess I relate it to the lack of push for Punk and Bryan. And again, that's more so Vince. Vince. But Triple H obviously has a lot of influence right now, and I feel like my feeling was we know he didn't like Punk, and maybe he didn't like Punk for different reasons other than Punk's size, but he really hates Punk. And I think they loved Daniel Bryan, but they never believed in Daniel Bryan to actually be the guy, and I don't know why. I mean, that Yes movement was freaking insane. So that would be my criticism. I'm very aware of the NXT and how well it was being produced, and that was more so directly under Triple H. So I'll give you points on that for sure, because I wasn't acknowledging that.
I mean, it would be interesting to see how a Triple H wrestling show actually worked on the main roster without any interference from Vince. Vince has stepped aside, and Triple H is running it off his own accord. I think we will see a better show. I think we will see better stories, because there were some absolutely incredible stories. Ciampa and Gargano in NXT is one of the greatest rivalries that they've ever done there. Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura had an incredible debut match for Shinsuke Nakamura when he was down there. Bobby Roode coming from Impact and doing his glorious, and people like AJ Styles, they went straight to the main roster. But the problem with NXT is they fester and they die in NXT. And they should be in the main roster way before. But if you take them up to the main roster, Vince is going to kill them. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. This is why AEW is an exciting product. This is why it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm in, just like Az said, you got me. I'm in. I'm getting the pay-per-view. I'm ready to check all of this out. I'm excited. In closing, I think that, we all, as wrestling fans, as fans of entertainment in general, we just want to see good stories. That's really what the core of all of this is. We just want to see good storytelling. And it really doesn't matter who is involved in those stories. You know, like CM Punk is not a guy that I probably would like in terms of his personality away from the arena. I'm sure we disagree on a lot of different things in the worldview and all that. I don't care about all that. He is one of the most talented individuals I've ever seen in professional wrestling. I love the guy as a worker. I appreciate what he brings to the table. And that's how it's always been. It's always just been like, who can entertain you in the business? And Roman Reigns doesn't entertain me. He doesn't entertain anyone. And I respect John Cena. I think he was someone that probably could have benefited from turning heel at some point, but that was just never going to happen for a various amount of reasons. But the WWE has missed out on some really good talent that could have elevated them into the you know, next 5 or 10 years. But I think that it's good.
Back for SummerSlam. He's back
he
for
is
SummerSlam.
back, yeah.
As a face. But you know, it doesn't matter that they have
not really exciting.
It doesn't matter that you have their old stuff at WWE. This is the stuff that's interesting. These stories, which are being told in AEW, and they are a breath of fresh air. And they've already just had so many amazing ones. I'm excited. I'm really
I
excited.
really am.
It's fan driven, man. It's just like anything in pop culture and all the things that we talk about. You have to listen to the fans and you have to read the fans. And there's a reason we're making this video right now, right? Because we're not making this video for views. We're making this video because we were already talking about it, right? And it's like, let's get on here and talk about it.
Perfect.
Let's share the enthusiasm. Let's share this energy with everybody else in the community because this is exciting, man. If it was WWE and we were talking about Roman Reigns and Cena after SummerSlam, there'd be a whole different energy on this stream right now. So that tells you what you need to know, right?
It definitely
I just finished a podcast with Jeremy on another channel. And then when that had finished, Jeremy and I just started to, did you see the Punk? Have you seen it? Yeah, I haven't seen it. I only saw the little clips on Twitter. I'm off to go and watch it now. And so then Jeremy was texting me, you know, so we were just kind of going, should we talk about, we need to talk about this. We need to, but that was just, and that's just, and the beauty is that's raw excitement, and that's AEW that's given us it. You know, they've given us something to get excited about. In an already excitable product, an interesting product, a product which is developing really well. And Punk didn't disappoint. He came out.
No, listen. Here's how this went. Okay. Az and I were like, I was like, you know what? We'll do this tomorrow. I'll get with Tommy. And he goes, okay, cool. I'm going to watch it right now. Az texts me. Fuck, chills. And I said, bro, I'm watching it again right now. It's fucking beautiful. He goes, hell fucking yeah. OMG, he's killing it. And I said, yes. And I was like, we got to do it. We got to record.
Yeah.
Right. So good.
Tommy's ready. Can you be ready in 10 minutes? Okay. I need to watch this. Text me when he's done.
That's what it's all about right there. And you know, tonight's a special moment. This will go down as a legendary moment in professional wrestling history. One of the biggest pops, one of the biggest moments. Man, I don't want to speak on, you know, is this my favorite moment, you know, yada, because I need time to process because I'm on a high right now with it, but it's definitely worthy of being in that discussion. CM Punk is my second favorite wrestler of all time. Stone Cold is my first, you know, and I don't think that Punk is better than people like Ric Flair or Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels necessarily, but I think he's in the conversation just right below those guys. You know, among others, obviously, but those are some of the greats. You know, Tommy's a Bret Hart guy. That's your all-time favorite. Tommy has, you got your Bret Hart shorts on right now?
No, right now I'm wearing Rocco's Modern Life. But there's a good 90% chance of the time that I'm wearing Bret Hart shorts. But yeah, I have some of that stuff over there. But Bret
if you go,
Hart,
there's
man,
an article. There's an article on geeksandgamers.com where Tommy's like dressed up like Bret Hart, and he was just like, what did you say about your wife or whatever? You're like, I slapped her on her ass and told her to fix me some or whatever. Like, what was it?
Well, I don't remember exactly what it was.
It was a guy.
It was so good.
No, she said
I'll link
you know,
that. I'll link it.
Why the hell do I look? Yeah. Why the hell do I look just like Bret the Hitman Hart? And I asked my wife, and she said she didn't know, but asked me basically why was I speaking in a Canadian voice, or I didn't know what she was talking about. slapped her on the ass and put her in the sharpshooter.
He's standing there like taking a selfie with his sunglasses on and he's pink and black shorts. It's so stupid.
I don't care, man. It's fucking fandom, man. You gotta have
Hell
some fun.
yeah, man. Hell yes.
Downstairs in my front room, I got a mannequin. On this mannequin is Will Ospreay's Wrestle Kingdom 12 outfit that I bought off him. You know, and so yeah, we, you know, lovers of pro wrestling, and yeah, it's such a good feeling. It's such a nice feeling to be excited for the product.
Yeah, it is.
I feel it's been a long time. Since AEW has come along, sure, they've been great, but you know, there was that awful drought of years of just this WWE churn, and it felt like it was never going to end, and it just sucked the life out of you. And now we're on the cusp of greatness, really, something really exciting happening again with pro wrestling.
It's beautiful, man. And I think just from entertainment in general, this was needed for a lot of us that are suffering in a lot of our entertainment, to just have a beautiful moment that has no BS involved. It's just there for the story, there for the fans, and they let the talent do what they do. That's what tonight was all about. So it was fantastic. So as it's been a pleasure having you on Sports Wars for the first time ever, my friend. And you know, love to have you on more. Love to get more wrestling content on here. You know, we're trying to build out different stuff. I mean, Robert Barnes has been creating content here on the channel, doing some you know, preseason you know, college football, or at least you know, kind of hype videos and predictions and everything like that. And we know it's going to take time to develop the views of those. Same with the wrestling stuff, just to build that up. But it's fun to talk about, and that's all we really care about. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. So it's great having you on, Az. And Tommy, you know, obviously great having you on. You've recently started your channel. I think you and Az probably had a lot to talk about with toys. You both love.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, I love my toys too. I actually scored a Dr. Mindbender. You know, this on my trip, I got Dr. Mindbender. So, and I got nice. I picked. I kind of don't want to admit it, but I did buy like I bought the G.I. Joe. I bought Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, the movie versions. Which ones were they? You got them too?
Stormtroopers.
Yeah, and so it's like, because I hate that Snake Eyes movie, but at least the Snake Eyes figure has his mask on, so it's like I can just pretend it's Snake Eyes. And I did.
I have a couple of them up there too.
Yeah, because they're the classifieds. They're the classified versions. So
I didn't get the classified. I got the little cheapies because they look enough like toys that they didn't look anything like the movie to me.
So I mean, as Tommy and massive G.I. Joe fan as well. So me and Az talked G.I. Joe a little bit. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you to everyone watching the video. Go subscribe to Heel versus Babyface, and also follow him at Hot Toys, or at least a friend of his is running his Hot Toys. His manager running the Hot Toys account. Subscribe to Tommytron TV. And follow him over on Twitter. I'll leave links to everybody's stuff below. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later. Bye.